Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening today. My name is Maloney. I'm a PhD candidate at Clemson University, and I'll be presenting today on behalf of my advisor, Dr. Freeman, and our collaborator, Dr. Wohn. Our paper is called Talking Without a Voice, Understanding Nonverbal Communication in Social Virtual Reality. Social VR refers to 3D virtual spaces where multiple users can interact with one another through a virtual reality head-mounted display. A uniqueness is that social VR affords full body tracked avatars where the avatar's movements will correspond to the real-time movements of one's physical body. It also affords both verbal and nonverbal interaction. So in particular, nonverbal interaction and communication can be defined as all potentially informative behaviors that are not purely linguistic. So facial behaviors, gaze, proximity, body language, text chat, and emojis. These types of nonverbal behaviors have been studied and demonstrated before in prior scholarship surrounding traditional virtual worlds like MMORPGs. So to further explore the nuance of nonverbal communication in social VR, we focused on 3 research questions. RQ1, what kind of nonverbal interactions are being used naturally in social VR? RQ2, how do people perceive and understand nonverbal communication in social VR? And RQ3, how, if at all, does nonverbal communication affect interaction outcomes in social VR? So to do so, we conducted 2 studies. Study 1 was a set of unobtrusive observations to collect data on a social VR platform. So we had 3 research assistants attend events in AltSpace VR for 4 weeks. They went to 61 public events and they spent a total of 82 hours observing these users. From that study, we found that there are various ways that people conducted nonverbal behavior naturally, such as indicating attention or approval by nodding, or directing attention by pointing, or social grooming by waving, dancing, etc. However, findings from study 1 did not really explain how or why these users conducted these behaviors. So this led us to conduct study 2. Study 2 was an interview study. We interviewed 30 social VR users of diverse genders, diverse races, and diverse experiences of social VR platforms, so not just AltSpace VR. We then used an in-depth qualitative analysis to analyze the data. So to answer RQ2, we found that nonverbal communication in social VR is viewed as a positive experience because it's similar to offline face-to-face interaction. It affords more immersive and embodied interactions, and it works as a natural way to initiate communication with strangers. To answer RQ3, we found that nonverbal communication in social VR allows for privacy, social comfort, and effective protection for marginalized users. So, by way of conclusion, we want to highlight several implications of our work. First, our findings illustrate a few similarities between nonverbal communication in social VR and an offline face-to-face interaction. One similarity was the role of interpreting nonverbal behaviors. No matter in social VR or offline, interpreting cues in someone's nonverbal behavior was a key communication strategy to understand each other and to decide if it was safe or appropriate to communicate with someone. However, our findings also highlight a major difference between nonverbal communication in social VR and in offline in terms of distinct social norms and expectations, mainly a different set of norms. Also, one of our key findings is that marginalized users employed nonverbal communication, such as like muting themselves or using gestures, body language, etc., to protect themselves from unwanted behaviors, but still communicate in a comfortable and socially satisfying means while not speaking. They also use nonverbal behavior to combat communication limitations and potential biases due to the dominance of English language on most social VR platforms. For example, this could be hiding an accent or facilitating communication between an English speaker with a non-English speaker, so they could communicate using nonverbal communication. Therefore, our work extends current understandings of the role of nonverbal communication in social interaction by focusing on social VR, a new and novel research context. We also highlight potential design implications that aim at addressing benefits and drawbacks of nonverbal communication, which may inform the design of future social VR systems. Thanks so much. Happy to take questions.